welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. Probably. After years, some would say, neglect, the Mac is once again first and foremost in the minds of Apple. Well, maybe not first, but no longer an afterthought, Gaz. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Although, actually, I say that, but I think I've got a bit of blockage in this left ear. And I've always had, well, not always, but I've had tinnitus in that ear for quite some time. But it's now kind of getting blocked, so it's a real pain. So if I do this a lot, it's because there's something. But no, I'm fine.
As compared to all the other times you went like this.
Yeah, but that was for a different reason.
That was like, I hear him more on this side.
Yeah, that's because he's done it again. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Gaz,
no, I'm good.
Happy Ungrateful Colonist Day.
Yeah, happy whatever it is.
It's July 4th, so
I think we are officially in the UK now the 51st state. You've only got 50 states, haven't you? You got 50 states? Yeah.
Well, it depends. You can count Guam and Puerto Rico.
Well, no, you can count us now. We're definitely the 51st state because Mr. Boris Swathead Johnson, just kind of slipped out. Sorry, folks. Decided to open all the pubs on July the 4th. Right, yeah. He just wanted to join in with your mate over there. So yeah. You are not colonists anymore. I think we are the colonists. So there you go.
Well, as long as someone's ungrateful, that's the part that matters.
That's good. Yeah, I'm always ungrateful.
So, I've got the beta, the iPad OS beta on my iPad Pro, my first gen iPad Pro.
Yep.
I've got Big Sur Mac OS beta. Well,
Big
Sur. It's honestly.
Well, no.
Different.
Stop.
Okay.
No, be dishonest.
Okay. Well, to be dishonest, I hate it. I hate every single thing about it, and that it's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, honestly,
don't really notice it while I'm using it. I guess the big difference might be.
Yeah. Say what you think.
Yeah. The big difference might be the widgets. Other than that, it just kind of works the way it did before. As far as I can tell. The big difference is on my. As far as I can tell.
I don't know.
Hanging up as I go. Is the Big Sur on the MacBook Air. Big Sur.
We're going to have to do that.
Air that I have.
Every
single time.
Either of us mentions Big Sur, we've got to have a little.
Big Sur.
Big Sur.
Yeah. Because that won't be annoying at all.
At all.
Not a single bit. That's
so
where
really,
the big changes are.
So you've got the. Oh, okay. Go on. Are you going to tell us about that in the middle section? Sorry.
Not really.
The second section.
Oh. No one's noticed yet. Or at least no one's said anything yet. The big thing with Big Sur, Big Sur.
Big Sur. No, the other one has to do that.
Yeah.
So, ready, let's practice. Big Sur.
Big Sur.
Right.
Okay. Is the wow, so distracting. Is the widgets in Notification Center, as well as, and here's the thing, what I kind of think would have been better, if you remember when and I hate making these kind of comparisons, when Microsoft first came out with Windows 8, and it had on the right side of the screen, you had widgets. You could put like different widgets and stuff there. Yes, and they were always there unless you made them go away. Go
away.
Yeah, I kind of think that that would have worked well with Big Sur.
Big Sur.
There we go. Yeah. Again, not annoying. Not at all. Not in the slightest. So, but that seems to kind of be where most of the changes that I've noticed are, with the translucent menu bar and the different sizes that they now have for application icons. And we will talk somewhat about this in the next section of the show because it's kind of lead into that.
Okay.
But that's where I've seen most of the changes between the two of the, because there's 4 betas out right now, actually more than that. But I mean, of the main things that Apple does, the watch, the phone, the iPad, and the Mac, I'm using 2 of those. I'm using the iPad and the Mac betas. Cool. And I notice it more on the Mac than I do on the iPad. What are you up to?
Interesting. Well, I've been pretty much bombarded with information coming from the aftermath of WWDC, which means sifting through the news items and items that I'm interested in for my snippets. It's been, well, interesting. I don't want to highlight all that's coming out. We'll probably be doing that during the course of the show. And actually, it's probably best to wait until it's here anyway. But I am going to put a link in my piece here, Guy, which you may want to put into the show notes, which is Apple's own website giving WWDC highlights.
Yeah, I actually made that a link. I made that a link in the in Pages.
Cool. So if people want to watch and read through them, then that's Apple's own highlights on those. There's some video and some reading to be done. I'm still having issues, Guy, with my mouse on my Mac. Or it's lagging after a few days of no reboot. So it's just weird. I've tried a number of things, none of which have worked. So I don't know. It just, after a while, it just lags ever so slightly. But those things are really noticeable. And I just don't know what to do. I've tried lots and lots of things and it just doesn't fix it. So it just doesn't work on my Mac.
Ooh, you said it again.
I did. I'm really good at that.
So what kind of mouse are you using on your Mac? That's the Apple mouse.
Apple Magical Mouse.
Yeah, I mean, I just recharged mine finally. I haven't used it,
Is that one with the charger at the bottom?
Yeah.
Mine's got the batteries, you see.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There you go.
Well, then where did I get this one? Oh, you know where I got this one? I got this one when
you nicked it.
Well, yeah. Well,
yeah.
When I stole the 2018 iMac that I'm currently using, it came in the stolen box along with the stolen keyboard.
That was handy.
Yeah,
handy.
Yeah. I don't know if I should have said that.
I don't think nobody believes that you pinched anything, Guy.
Yeah, good plan. Wink, wink.
Anyway, I'll keep digging if it finally get it fixed. Funny thing is, I think actually that my trackpad also has that same delay on it. So really? I think it's something to do with the Bluetooth somewhere in the systems. And I've tried before anybody says kill my P lists in my,
that's what I was just thinking.
No, I've done all that. It just doesn't work. So I don't know.
It really shouldn't. It shouldn't act that way.
No, tell me about it.
Yeah. No. Apple purposely put delay in like the pointing devices that people use because, somebody in Apple's Bluetooth department was like, what would be a great joke? Let's put in a delay for everybody.
Yeah, and Steve said, awesome.
Yeah, he liked that. Yeah. Believe it or not, Gaz, we have a recent article. I know. This is like, almost 2 weeks in a row. Almost.
It's like 1 week on, 3 weeks off. That's almost 2 weeks in a row.
That's almost 2 weeks in a row. As I recall, I did the last one, so why don't you do this one?
You really want me to do it, considering I've got my snippets afterwards?
That's okay.
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that. I am.
Okay, so...
I'm just fine with it.
Como audio turntable. This is a review by Wederick Fells. When you're in the market for a new turntable, there are numerous, I tell you, options to choose from. You can go for a relatively cheap option with no frills and questionable fidelity, or get professional DJ quality build, all the way to extremely high-end audiophile fidelity and comparable price. The Como audio turntable provides high-quality build, great fidelity audio, and some other tricks up its sleeve for a fantastic price. Go over and read Frederick's review over on the mymac.com website.
And
Yes.
we will always, always, always on this show, if there's a review or an opinion piece or something like that, we will talk about it here on the show.
We will.
Yep.
And now we're gonna talk about Gaz's snippets. Now, okay. These are all combined together, so let me finish them all, Guy, because I wasn't going to put any of these in, but then I thought, right, I'm going to put them all in.
First, like 4 or 5 here.
Apple said to be removing charger headphones from upcoming iPhone 12 series. Then I got another note which said Apple removing the iPhone 12 power adapter would be courageous. It wouldn't be courageous, it's just mean. iPhone 12 was shipped without its charger in the box. iPhone 12 won't include charger in box, says analyst. Apple again rumoured to drop charger and earbuds. There's an extra piece in there for iPhone 12. Look, guys, let's wait and see. There's been nothing official. We don't know. Lots of clickbait. And I was getting fed up with it. Yeah. But I thought, I'm fed up with it, so I'm going to let you get fed up with it as well.
Well, the really weird thing about all these stories is the one thing they didn't mention, which was that the iPhone is going to switch to Intel processors.
Boom.
Ironic.
Developers begin receiving Mac Mini with an A12Z chip to prepare apps for Apple Silicon Macs. Oozy woozy.
Yeah, and Apple's not happy with some of these developers because of it.
I wonder why, Guy.
Yeah, well, because they're putting out benchmarks, and it specifically says in the NDA, don't benchmark this device, and they're like, no, we'll do it anyway.
Well, I've mentioned that further on, so we'll come to that in a bit.
Of course, and of course, I just said something.
U.S. government asks Apple, Facebook, Google, Snapchat, and Twitter to ensure, they say, online performance platforms, which I could read my own writing, are not used to spur violence.
Yeah, that'll work.
2020 Apple Design Award winners announced, including Darkroom. So, photo and video editing app Darkroom by Berg & Co. Animated playground Loom by Laroma Studio. CAD app by Sharp 3D. Digital sheet music app by Staff Pad. Sayonara?
Sayonara. Yeah, really? It was made in Ocala, Florida, where they use lots of origamo.
Sayonara Wild Hearts from Simogo and Anapurma Interactive. Yes, Sky Children of the Light from That Game Company.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That Game Company.
Oh, them.
Yes. Song of Bloom from Philip Stollenmayer. Where Cards Fall from The Game, Band, and Snowman. No idea.
Where they come up with these names.
No idea.
The one like Song of Bloom, that almost sounds like something like Song of Bloom. But no, it's not. So don't quote me on that.
3% daily cash with Apple Card now available at over 11,500 Exxon and mobile. It's mobile, isn't it? Gas stations across the US.
You say mobile, I say mobile.
Well, it's not got an E on it, so it's mobile. iApple, is that iApple? I wonder if I put that in incorrectly. Apple supporting COVID-19 diagnostics research on the Apple Watch. Good for them. US Fed issues details on bond buys from Apple, AT&T, and Jack Daniels.
Because it's all connected together. Because every time I use Apple products, I want to pick up a phone and drink at the same time, heavily.
Apple's A12Z under Rosetta outperforms Microsoft's native ARM-based Surface Pro X. Now, yeah, they got an NDA on these pieces of equipment. They're not supposed to do this, but they have to, didn't they? They just had to. And then what did they do?
It's like they have OCD or something.
They do something like that, and then they compare it with Microsoft's ARM-based Surface Pro, which we know is not ready. So come on, people. Apple News loses the New York Times over little control and lack of direct relationships from the New York Times. That was a statement they made about Apple News process. So it's gone, folks, gone.
Yeah,
They do. Oh, no. Well, Apple launches Path to Apple Card program to help declined applicants get approved. There you go. If you get declined, there's a way.
Try again.
There, absolutely. I can hear you sighing now. Apple Camp at Home registration now open with a free creative activity book, Guy. I could see you're really happy about that. Apple TV app on
Camp at Home. Yeah. That's the exact same thing as going to camp. Same thing.
Apple TV app on LG smart TVs and support for Dolby Atmos. Apple Pay comes to its first bank in Serbia.
Ooh, boy, I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Vizio said, hey, people in Serbia were waiting, so don't knock it. We've got at least 0 listeners in Serbia. At least that number.
Yeah, and we don't want to upset our 0 listeners.
No. Vizio says Apple TV app coming later this summer. Apple European executive defends the App Store policies amid antitrust scrutiny. Yeah. Yep. Apple shares trailer for the Boys State documentary coming to Apple TV Plus on August 14th. Do you know my year of Apple TV is going to be ending? When will it be ended?
Soon you'll have to pay.
I won't be paying anything, Guy. I won't be paying anything, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
Drop it.
Yeah, it's really not worth it. And I'll come to that later, actually.
Okay.
Apple reportedly evaluating Apple Silicon-powered Mac OS on the phone. I bet that'll really please you. No. New Mac ransomware found in pirated Mac apps. Well, don't get pirated Mac apps.
Yeah.
From Bloomberg, Apple are shifting the Apple Arcade strategy, cancelling development of some games. They don't think it's working.
Are these applications made at Apple's bequest, or are they basically telling developers, well, you can develop that game if you want?
So Bloomberg think that Apple is shifting its strategy for Apple Arcade in an effort to retain subscribers, according to a new report. This is from Bloomberg. The report explains that Apple has cancelled the contacts for some games still in development as it revamps its approach.
That makes absolutely no sense. But okay.
Well, it's Bloomberg.
Oh, well, enough said right there.
Absolutely. Apple patent suggests new iPhone buttons with haptic feedback. I don't agree with that. Apple buttons with haptic feedback? Buttons? Apple? No.
The only thing I could think of that could be added to the iPhone would be a virtual Touch ID button on screen.
Yes, but if they mean actual buttons...
I know.
No. Apple officially obsoletes the first MacBook Pro with a Retina display. The reason I put this in, guys, Retina display already obsoleted? Wowza.
Well, that was 2012, 2011?
Yeah, but Retina display, it seems so recent.
Yeah, that came out after we started recording this podcast, which tells you 2 things. We've been recording this podcast for a really long time.
Let me think that. It came out after we started recording this podcast, which means it could have been out either 8 years ago or a year ago.
Yeah, or like 20 seconds ago, because,
And now they've obsoleted it. Doctor says that the Apple Watch diagnosed his critical heart disease and saved his life. He couldn't diagnose it himself. He needed the watch. Apple suppliers. If he was my doctor, I would not be very happy.
Yeah, I'd be like, next doctor. Can I get another doctor here, please?
Yeah, because he's using his watch to look after. Now, obviously, it diagnosed something which he wasn't aware of. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, well, you might. No, no doubt will be benefited here, Mister.
Apple suppliers expecting a 50% component order cut for the iPhone 12. But hang on a minute, Apple races to push ahead with the 5G iPhone mass production. Which is it? Bloomberg reported that Apple is disappointed in the performance of Apple Arcade. I think that's a follow-on to the other piece that they had, and they're really trying to big
pushing
up
some kind of narrative there.
Yeah, absolutely. Apple wins bid for Will Smith action film Emancipation, reported $120 million deal. Apple continues poaching Sony execs for TV Plus with a new senior hire. I thought I had the name, but I don't seem to have it. And I know that I haven't got it. Well, so
well, he used to work for
search.
Sony.
He did.
So you know.
The UK regulators could break up Apple and Google's billion-dollar search engine deal. They could, but will they? Because they haven't got anything out when it comes to an app.
Could they?
COVID. Well, they could do what they like. We're out of the EU, mate. We do what we like. Yeah. You're not going to play in our garden.
Yeah.
No. Apple CEO Tim Cook will testify in the US tech antitrust probe in July.
Get him, Tim.
Apple TV Plus took home 27% of the new OTT subscriptions during the COVID-19.
Wait, but what does Bloomberg say? Because that's the people that apparently matter.
They didn't say anything. Apple recloses more than 25% of its US retail stores due to the COVID-19 spikes in the US.
Yep.
The Bank of America uses 20 patents to show investors Apple is still innovating.
Okay. Thank you, Bank of America.
Apple is still working on under-display official Touch ID reader.
Oh, yeah,
now,
there you go.
That could be where the other people have gone, wow, yes, they're putting buttons back on the phone.
And this is how they said it.
Yeah. Apple Store nearly doubles Google Play revenues across COVID-19 lockdown. I didn't read into that, but that just seems that the Apple Store has nearly doubled the Google Play. Oh, the App Store. I shouldn't even have put that story in. I read app and went straight to Apple, you see, because most of the links that I try and go for are based at Apple, but they don't always come out with Apple stuff. Okay, yeah. My mistake.
So as long as people are really, really sick, they'll use more Google apps.
They will. Apple wants your iPhone to replace your passport and driver's license, apparently.
Of course.
Apple files Apple files to halt future patent lawsuits from Zipit Wireless.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on there. Okay, so going back on the TV piece, right, and the reason I wouldn't buy Arcade, well, I just read this and I thought, what? Is this right? This can't be right. I must be misreading this. I must be misunderstanding what this is, because it says YouTube TV raises prices from $50 a month to $65 a month. Are you kidding me?
That's for their subscription service, yeah. Yeah,
are you kidding me?
No.
$65 a month for the subscription service for YouTube. Wowza. Because I keep passing on it, you see. I just won't go for it. So I didn't know what the price was because I never looked. And when I saw that, I thought, what?
Yeah. At what point is it like, well, why exactly did I leave the television services from my cable company again?
Wowza.
And really what it comes down to, guys, isn't so much the fault of YouTube as it is all of the various channels that they offer through their service. Now, in the past, these were all ad-based. So companies would buy advertising space on these channels, then the channels would play their commercials, and that's how they got paid.
Yep.
Well, since the advent of cable TV, of course, things are different now. So now cable TV services are giving these companies money as well as them making it from ad revenue.
Right. So let me back up a little bit then. So this is actually not only this isn't just YouTube. This is lots of other channels which they send over.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless this is going to happen with Netflix, especially with Netflix, because all of the media deals that they have with the various studios, as these deals come up for negotiation, they want more money. And Netflix gets to the point where it's like, well, we either tell Fox and Universal Studios and like all these other companies to go pound sand and don't show their content and don't have their content, or we give them more money. And it's why there's this huge push in streaming services, not necessarily to have a huge back catalog, but to have their own content.
Yeah,
their own created content.
Absolutely. Great. Yeah. I was just amazed when I saw that price.
Yeah.
And I put this in,
although
I put this in, but I didn't really delve into it. It says Disney has axed the 4K re-release of The Empire Strikes Back in the UK cinemas. Right. So they've made the old Empire Strikes Back into a 4K release.
Experience, right. Wait, hold on. Let me think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't be paying to see that when it does finally release somehow.
If the cinemas ever actually open up again.
Well, there is that, yeah, there is that. And that, folks, is the end of Gaz's Snippets.
Oh, and I put that link down in the links section so that I'll see it after we finish recording.
And I'm sure everybody listening needed to know that.
They did. Well, I needed to know it because I saw that you put
I know you needed to know it, Guy.
Your references only.
Yeah, you don't have to. That's why it says on there, you don't have to read that bit, Guy.
Oh, so I didn't have to read for Gaz's references only WWDC extras.
No.
And then that link.
No.
Okay, good. Then I won't.
Take us out.
Everyone, please stand by. And both Gaz and myself, we will be, before you know it, probably before you want us to, right back.
Hi everyone and welcome to this week's mighty MyMac Podcast Point 2.
I almost said this week.
What you on about, Guy? What you on about?
I got very confused.
You always get very confused. Do you want me to do that again?
No, we are good.
Good. How? So what are we going to be talking about this week?
Well, couple of things. As was alluded to in the opening of the show, the Mac is now finally seeming to get a lot more attention, Gaz, than it has in the recent past. And part of that, of course, is because it's moving to a new processor. But there is a few other things behind it. And something that needs to be said right off the bat is that now, for the first time ever, Macs and iOS devices, which includes iPads, are going to run on the same processors, which is, of course, a given fact, but needs to be said for this discussion. One of the things that was announced at WWDC is that iOS apps are going to be able to be run unmodified on Apple silicone-based Macs. And what kind of started all this was a discussion that you and I were having offline about how some people are saying that touch-sensitive Macs, beyond the little menu bar that they have in some of the laptops, could be coming. And there was someone very prominent that had an article on that in a website that doesn't sponsor us, so we won't say who it is. And for me, I say balderdash, but considering how long I held on to Macs going to ARM until the very last minute.
When you changed your mind.
Then I changed my mind just in time for them to do the very thing that I said that they should have done a long time ago. You can take what I say, I guess, with a grain of salt. But one of the things that small, little tiny grain. One of the things that kind of points to this, to me, says that it's not going to happen, is that this might create a divide between Apple silicone-based Macs and Apple Intel-based Macs. And with Apple saying that they're going to support Intel-based Macs for at least the next, 2 to 5 years, to me says that they're not going to make this hard push into having significant differences between Intel and silicone-based Macs. And now, the thing about the Mac is it's a desktop device. And in order to do, and this is something that Steve Jobs talked about quite some time ago, saying that
he's dead, you know.
I know he's dead. I know he died. That touchscreen-based operating systems for desktop-based operating systems just doesn't make any sense. To have a touch interface on a desktop-based operating system, and he kind of pointed at the time, it was kind of a new thing at the time, what Microsoft was doing with Windows 8, which really was not that. I mean, that was not a very successful operating system for a number of reasons. But even going beyond that, if you have an OS that's grounded in a desktop interface, how do you add touch capabilities without having the problems that Jobs talked about, fatigue, ARM fatigue, and a few other things? And how do you bridge the gap between a computer that has the capability of being a touch device and computers that aren't running on the same operating system? As examples, I would give the iPad and the Microsoft, Surface Studio, if you remember that, came out in 2016.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that, though. They like the interaction between that. But
Sure,
whenever I've seen
anybody, sell very well.
No, whenever I see people using it, I think, how cumbersome is that?
Yeah. And this was a 28-inch tilt screen desktop. Now, one of the things that Microsoft did that was actually quite innovative, and I'll give them props, was they didn't force you to stand there and use your arms at an awkward angle to use a touch-based interface. They essentially took this 28-inch huge ass screen and they allowed you to tilt it down so that it was kind of in front of you, flat but at a slight angle.
Yep.
And the original one was released in 2016 and was updated in 2018. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody else made anything like this other than, the Surface Studio, though most major brands do have all-in-one computers and some have built-in touchscreens. The closest, I guess, there's some discontinued Windows 8.1 models that were somewhat similar, but none of them were updated beyond those initial releases, which tells me that very few people are buying these machines. Now, the other thing that tells me, Gaz, that Apple may not be looking at a touch interface is how much work that they've put into Catalyst 2, which is software that they created to transition iOS apps to Mac apps. So if they were going to try to push a touch interface for the Mac OS, why bother to create an environment to transition iOS apps to the Mac if silicone-based Macs were going to run unmodified iOS apps anyway? This is where you jump in.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think that through.
Okay.
Because I hadn't seen these show notes before. So, can Intel use Catalyst 2 process?
No.
Now,
Intel-based Macs can't run iOS apps
Okay, natively. So the reason I'm hesitating is because I am hearing and seeing, because I haven't got and I haven't used any of the developer apps.
Right, neither have I.
I've not looked at any of Big Sur at all. What I have heard are people talking about it, and I've especially heard somebody talking about the difference between the gaps on the apps and the spacing that's being used, which hints to them of a touchscreen process, because it feels more of a touch gap rather than a mouse gap. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, some of the controls off the menu bar.
Yeah, and now that's either bad form on Apple's part because they're just not getting that bit right, or they are going to, have apps which can just go from one to the other, which makes the questions that you're putting out there even more confusing.
What?
Not from you, from what Apple is doing. Now, I think there will be a lot more interaction between the two, and there will be a lot more symmetry between the two. But I do believe that Apple are still concentrating on keeping the Mac as a device which is separated from your mobile device.
Right. So not touch-based. Probably. Well,
let me just say, any
ahead.
experience that I've ever had with a PC device, which is also a touch device, has been awful. The transition just doesn't work. And if it's a laptop, you kind of have to use it like that 28-inch Microsoft thing, right? It has to be all encompassing or nothing at all. And I've watched people at work when they're using the mouse, they're using the keyboard, and then they reach up to touch the screen, and it looks awkward. And I've tried it myself; it feels awkward. And I think that's where Apple is struggling with that. Do we go or don't we go? Because you can't combine the two. I just don't think at this point it works very easily. And I think that's possibly where Apple is struggling as well, as to how to get the touch screen experience on a Mac. And they're not going to do it on the iMac, so they're not going to do it on the Mac Pros and the iMac. We're talking MacBooks here, aren't we? How do they get the transition between three devices? Mobile, MacBook, and then
desktop.
iMac / desktop. Yeah, proper
Right.
desktop. And I think that's what they're struggling with.
And that would be a struggle. Now, the one thing that I just thought of as we were having this discussion was that most devices, by that I mean all the laptops that Apple sells, have trackpads.
Yep.
Trackpads can be used with the touch of, the control key, the option key, the command key to do some of these things, as well as have multi-touch capability that's built into the operating system so that you can expand stuff out, contract stuff in, move from page to page.
Yep.
There's all these things that they have built into multi-touch, not just for the iPad OS and not just for iPhones, but for the Mac as well. Mm-hmm. And if that's what we were talking about, if we were talking about all desktop computers, all laptops, all iPhones, all iOS or iPads having the same or similar multi-touch a multi-touch interface, and being able to transition from one environment to the other using multi-touch, then I would probably agree with the initial concept, but not a touchscreen. I don't think that Apple is going to go to a touchscreen Mac. I just can't see them doing it.
No, I can't either, because going back to what I said before, that it just doesn't work, and I think they'd struggle with it, because to give them dues, they still want a good user experience.
Right.
Heaven forbid a company wants to try and make something nice for its users. Heaven forbid. But actually,
talk.
Now I know that there's going to be naysayers out there to what we're saying about the fact, oh no, I use a touch screen all the time. That fine, but I tell you what, everybody that I've seen use it, they look awkward, and they're never very comfortable with it. And yeah. I've tried it in many different guises with the angle. I've got one of these actually. Let me show you. This is a little. Can you see that? You can. Right? A little
Yeah.
HB. It's a Windows 10 HB Elite X2, and it's one of these tablets. It can turn into a tablet. So it's got a keyboard. It can fold open and be a keyboard, or I can strip the keyboard off, and it's then a touch device. I only ever use the keyboard, guy. I only ever use it logged on with a key. I cannot. The touch experience is awful.
Or some kind of mouse or trackpad or something like that.
The touch screen experience is awful. I don't care what they try and do. It is awful. And I think that's where Apple are probably struggling as well. And they won't bring out a touchscreen MacBook until they know that experience is good. But they are trying to get to that point, I think. That is their ultimate aim.
You think that's the goal, is to move everything to a touch-based device?
To your point that you made the other week, where you walk away, with this HP device that I've got, for example, I walk away with the screen. So I strip the screen off and I go away and I can do stuff like an iPad. The iPad experience is good. An iPad Pro experience is really good for some people. You come back and then you log it onto your dock, like you've said, and then you've got a full desktop experience. Whether it uses the processor that's in this, or whether it uses enhanced processing that is within the dock and the other features.
We're going to talk about that in a minute too.
Right. Sorry. Okay. So carry on then, because I think we've moved on to that bit.
Oh, okay. Something to remember about all of these devices is that Thunderbolt-based Macs are not restricted to the base hardware that they came with. And to put a further point on that, you can buy a Mac with pretty modest hardware specs and boost them to much higher levels using Thunderbolt 3, or if you can find ones that are compatible earlier versions, with PCIe expansion chassis with 1 or 2 slots. Mac sales, they're not a sponsor, but Other World Computing sells quite a few of these. As a matter of fact, my son Guy.
Can I just make this point, Guy, to you? We haven't got any sponsors, so you don't have to say sponsors. They're not a sponsor. So we have no sponsors.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we just like them. And they should sponsor us. Damn it! Damn it!
All right, go on. Carry on. Your son Guy.
My son Guy has a MacBook Pro, 13-inch MacBook Pro, as well as a very similar to the one that I have, a 2018 iMac. And he's talking about going and getting a PCIe expansion chassis to put in a stronger graphics card because he wants to do some more stuff with video.
Yep.
Which is fine. And the fact that he can plug this in to either his MacBook Pro or his Mac, depending on which one he's working with at the time, you can have a device that is, it is still a powerful device in and of itself, but that you can further its capabilities with just a single cable. And this is something that Apple's been working on for a long time. Is really amazing. And to the point that companies like Other World Computing, who is not a sponsor of this show, Gaz, they're not.
I think you've told me that.
Oh, have I? Okay. That you can take a chassis that has 1 or 2 PCIe slots and add more capability to it, whether it's a graphics card or another network card, if you want to do something along those lines, or or more storage or what have you. The kind of cool thing about that also is because of how much bandwidth is available through Thunderbolt 3, which is up to 40 gigabytes per second. 40 gigabytes per second. You're not even limited to a single expansion chassis. You can daisy chain these things.
Yep.
And add even more.
Now,
go ahead.
But hang fire a minute. Hang fire.
All right.
Very important point here. Was that then too early for the Ashtray Mac Pro? Because that's exactly the route they were taking with that device. Because they said you can power it up to ad infinitum. You can put loads of new powerful machines to this because it's got Thunderbolt, and the throughput is massive, but
Well,
it didn't work.
It did. The problem was,
No, the machine worked, but
yeah,
the selling of that device did not work. Was it too soon?
it probably was too soon. And remember that they were using Thunderbolt, I believe Thunderbolt 1.
No, it was two. It was at least two. I think it was two.
Well, that
yeah.
maxed out at, I think, 20 gigabytes per second.
Yeah, but that's still enough.
Which is
that's
still a
enough.
lot.
Still enough.
But there were so many other problems with the 2013 Mac Pro.
Okay, let's not move on to that. Let's not dwell on that.
Okay. Yeah, but there were a lot of problems with that machine that were aside from whether or not you could expand them beyond their small size.
Yeah. Okay.
And but kind of to that point, I think that there's a very, very good reason why when they came out with the new Mac Pro, that a lot of the expansion capabilities that people wanted were built into the new Mac Pro as compared to the one that came just before it. It was more like the 2010/2012 Mac Pros that people knew and loved back in the day. Okay.
So Guy.
Yeah.
What's the future?
The future. Funny you should say that. Touchscreen Macs or something else. I say Guy says. I just blew that whole joke. Damn it.
Hang on a minute then. You see, if I knew that was coming, because you didn't warn me.
I should have warned you.
You should have warned me. Right, okay. So
let's start that again. So what's the future?
Hang on a minute. I've got to make sure I get the right one. Okay, so Guy, what's the future? Guy says
touchscreen Macs or something different. See, that would have been much funnier if I had told you about it before we got started on this section. It would have been a laugh riot. People would have been slapping their knees and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. No, but now they're just like, it's just sad.
They're just laughing now.
Yeah, it's just sad. But for a complete... They're laughing at me and not with me. Yeah. All right. So what else? So, what's new about that?
Let's try that again then. Guy says
that the... ultimately, I don't think it's going to be a touchscreen Mac, but desktop iOS. And is there a difference if both can run the same apps? Yes. If you add a Thunderbolt 3 box that the iPhone or iPad can connect to, then your phone truly becomes that all-in-one device that you can use for everything with Face ID and touch-enabled security with two-factor authentication that essentially if somebody steals the device, with a phone call, you can render that thing completely useless to anybody else. So to me, and here's something else, Gaz. The future is already here, but not for Apple. Samsung makes...
I'm just looking around for the future, but I can't see it.
It is here. It's here. Okay. But Apple doesn't make it.
Okay, tell me.
There's a protocol for Samsung phones called DeX, DEX.
Right. Okay.
And with a single cable, you can connect your Samsung Android-based phone to a monitor and have a desktop-like experience. Now, where it kind of falls apart is unfortunately, and I don't want to make this let's slam Android. No. The fact that Android makes it possible at all to do this is amazing. And I actually had bought a device a number of years ago that used Android as the base OS for a desktop-based operating system for this little device about yay big, the Remix Mini, if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
Right, and it was amazing. This was a desktop-looking computer that cost like $80, and it ran Android apps in a semi-desktop-like environment and it worked best for applications, of course, that had been transported to that kind of environment, and not all Android apps were. And therein lies the problem. Samsung for as great as the idea is, and the fact that, and yes, they're there first. They are there long before Apple. They don't control the whole widget. So they don't control future development for Android. They don't control anything having to do with the applications that DeX might use. Whereas Apple already has that in place. Apple controls the hardware. Apple controls the operating system. Apple controls the App Store. So they could have, with just like a little check mark, say, make this iOS application available for iOS desktop or whatever it is that Apple may call.
Stop the presses!
A device.
There's a reason I did that. There's a reason I did
Tell
that.
me.
You said that Apple aren't first.
Right.
Apple very rarely are first.
That's true. That is very true. But when they get there, they typically do it better.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
This is why Samsung is going to be there first. And and that's even assuming that Apple does something like this.
Yeah, they may not.
Yeah, they may not. If Apple ever comes out with something like this, you will have the legion of, Android fanboys coming out going, Samsung was doing this and Remix Mini and blah, 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 blah. Like they still talk about the Nokia like it was the holy friggin' grail before the iPhone came out.
What happened to them?
What happened to them? Being first doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I don't care about being first.
Don't care about being first. You can care about who's there at the end of the day, who's still standing at the end of the day. And what kind of surprised me was Samsung. Now they have their own operating system. What's that called? Teslin, something like that.
Yeah, but it's an Android-based one, isn't it?
Yeah, but they control it though.
Yeah.
Well, it's Unix based. It's not Android. It's something else. But they bought it from someone else, and it kind of surprised me that they didn't at least even try to do something like this with a limited series of phones that ran this operating system that would go between a mobile device to a desktop device with just a single cable. And to me, that's going to be the holy grail. When you basically get up in the morning, you put your phone in your pocket, you go to work, you sit your phone down in some cradle, you're doing all your work. At the end of the day, you pick your phone up and you go home, put it down in a cradle in your house, and you're doing whatever you want to do there. That to me is the future of computing.
Can't believe you said that. The future is
computer.
The future of computer. Are you going to change your mind though before we get there? Because
yes, 2 weeks before Apple actually releases it, I'll be like, they're never going to do that.
This is what I just want to clarify, because what I don't want to happen is for you to actually change your mind or not change your mind. Because if you're going to change your mind, then it'll happen. But if if you're not going to change your mind, then
what am I doing right now?
You're nodding your head.
Hit it.
I am.
Gaz's tips.
That's so smooth.
Gaz's tips. Mostly. Gaz's tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip.
We just went right over there.
We did, right. So very quick. These are system and finder edged tips. Command and delete moves a selected item to the trash. Be careful then if you've got a selected item and you hit command delete, because it will move it to the trash. However, here's an even better one if you want it. Shift command delete empties the trash guy. Boom, it's gone forever. If you're in Finder, command J shows your view options, which can be very useful at times, I can assure you. And also control command T adds the selected item to your sidebar.
Yeah,
yes, it does.
Don't confuse Finder Command J with Shift Command Delete. That could be very, very bad.
No, that could be bad. Especially, don't confuse Shift Command Delete with Control Command T when you want to add something to the sidebar and then you empty it to the trash. Yeah,
yeah, that would be very, very bad.
I'm nodding my head.
We are.
That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
Is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Gaz's tips.
Fine.
Gaz, you are absolutely right.
See, you just keep adding on and adding on.
It gets longer and
And
longer.
longer.
Oh, dear.
You got an app pick?
An app pick. Blimey, we went straight into that, didn't we? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to go for... I can't remember whether we did this or not, so I'm going to do it just in case.
Okay.
Levelator is back, guy.
It is.
It is back. It's called the Levelator. It's from Singular Software. It's free as far as I'm aware, and it's
Yes.
in the Mac App Store. If you do anything if you do anything with sound and you've got multiple sources, and this could be anything, this could be absolutely anything. You know, you're helping people out at work, and you want to, send me a piece, and we'll make a little fun piece for work. Then, you know, somebody sends you an audio, someone else sends you an audio, and they're completely different. Throw it into Levelator. You know, once you've got the two together, of course, throw it into a Levelator. It'll levelate them up. Brilliant. It's just a great little app. It's free.
It is.
The Levelator. Go get it.
There is one caveat though to the Levelator.
You've got a caveat.
I've got a caveat.
I don't like cats.
It doesn't work with compressed files like MP3 and other formats like that. So they should be like AIFF files, which is kind of the same kind of files that you get off CDs.
I thought
and
the
things
new
like that.
Levelator didn't mind.
Didn't work for me.
You
Because
sure?
I had forgotten that, yes. And I had actually exported this show to an MP3, and I was going to run it through Levelator, and I kept dropping it on it and going, well, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? And then it was like, oh, stupid boy.
I thought they'd fix that because I thought I heard someone. I haven't tried that. But anyway, it's still a good app.
It is.
Export
it's a
it in AI.
fantastic app. And the fact that it's been updated for new versions of the Mac OS, fantastic. And thank you to the developers of that. My pick this week is, you can't see it unless you're watching the video, is this right here.
Which may or may not go out. Oh, it's a mic, folks.
It's a microphone.
Which he's not using.
No.
It's
I've
his
got
pick.
a lot of microphones.
His pick, folks. His pick, which he's going to go on and on about and say how fabulous it is now.
It is.
Fantastic. He's not using it.
Not for this show. No, I am not using it for this show. But something I am considering doing is using this as my default microphones in my mobile kit. For a long, long time, I've been using Electra Voice E835 microphones, which is not a condenser, dynamic microphone. And those are good microphones, but they're also like $100 each. And you have to boost the crap out of them to get any kind of decent levels. I mean, that's the nature of the beast with dynamic microphones. So I've been looking around for alternatives, and I found this based on a different reviewer that I follow in YouTube, Podcast, which is his name, and he does great microphone reviews and other types of audio gear. So check him out, Podcastage. This got like glowing reviews from him, which is unusual for not only for a condenser microphone, but for an inexpensive Behringer condenser microphone. The SB78A is, yes, a condenser microphone. It's only $44. And
$44, you say?
$44.
So
And
why
it
did I spend all that
sounds
money on this Rode
fantastic.
Podcaster? Because
Because you would have also needed an audio interface with it. Because this is XLR output. This isn't USB. So you would have needed something else to get that microphone into your computer. But for $44, it is an amazing microphone.
For some reason, I seem to be sharing my screen.
Yeah, I don't know why you're doing that. We're back. I wasn't going to say anything. I figured you were trying to show me something here.
No, I don't know why. I don't know why. I swallowed a
I don't know why.
have
There's no sun in the sky. It must be nighttime. All right. So there's our picks.
Facing the wrong way. Good. That sounds good. But remember, folks, you need another device to use it.
You'll need some kind of audio interface to make it work, but it is a
Is your
fantastic
house actually
microphone.
made of mics?
It is. I've
I thought so.
little by little over the years, I've taken old mic. This used to be like a barely a 1-room shack, and now it's like
it's a mansion.
It's a 40
Made of
bedroom,
mics.
39.
It's Mike's
39
mansion.
Mike's mansion. What? What did you say? It's Mike's. It's not mine. It's Mike's.
And he can hear that it's
And
his.
he can hear everything. The whole house is wired.
The whole world is listening to Guy on his
That's
mics.
right. On my mics. All right.
Wow.
If you would like to support my ridiculous microphone habit, all you'd have to do is go to Patreon, patreon.com/MacPettit. Coffee, ko-fi /MacPettit. Or PayPal, paypal.me/MacParrots. Parrot, not parrots, but parrot is all you need to support me and my silly mic habit. Gaz, if people wanted to get a hold of you, I know there must be some way they could do it.
They can.
They
Guy can. They send an email to Guy. Not
What?
Gaz. They send an email to Guy. I'm just watching your face now. You're confused, aren't you?
I am confused.
I love your confused face. Okay, my mistake. Hands up. I cocked up. All right. Guy's not the only one that screws up. You send an email to gaz@mymac.com. It's Gaz
Cars.
at mymac.com. Or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz. Gaz
Cars.
MAZ.
Cars.
You can also send a Twitter to Guy and Gaz on the Twitters. GUI
Right.
AND GAZ.
Cars.
I can stop the Z cars playing and we won't get told off. You can also send an email to feedback@mymac.com. That's FWDBACK
Okay.
at mymac.com. Now,
Yeah.
Guy was paid at 75 grand.
Oh, I wish.
Do we know it was a guy?
Wasted all of
I
microphones.
like to go with guy.
yeah.
Shut down.
Shut down.
Guy
Shut it down.
says.
God,
Pay no
said-
attention to that guy behind the curtain.
That's what Guy says.
Guy says.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to
Yes,
that
that's
guy
what he
behind the
says,
curtain.
Because
Guy says.
Guy's the one.
does he?
Guy says.
You remember Guy?
Does he?
He's the guy. Pay no attention to that guy behind the curtain.
His name was Guy.
Guy says.
No fooling.
Oh, I'd
If
be worried.
they want,
An email from Guy.
how would they do it?
All they have to do after all of that, if you're still listening, Guy at mymac.com.
That's what we want to know. If
Yeah,
you're still
we
listening,
don't know
why?
GUI at mymac.com. You can also reach me on the Twitters. I have 2 accounts there, Mac Parrot and Vert Shark. Okay, that's it. And Vert Shark over on the Twitters, as well as the vertshark.com website.
You said
You
it
can-
again.
I know, I said
Play it
Vert
twice.
Shark again. I'm sorry. All those different ways that you can follow me, vertshark.com. And let's see, what else? We have a Skype telephone number, Gaz. We do.
Can I say the number?
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't see the number. Okay. It's +1 +1703 436 9501. That number again. +1 703 436 9501. If you've only got a Skype account, you only have to dial 703 436 9501.
They're not listening anymore. I guarantee it.
How do you think I feel?
Well, I do it real fast. It's like,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, I know. Well, whatever. So I would like to say from both Gaz and myself, thank you. And with all the kidding around that we do, this is the part of the show where we are deadly serious. Not just serious, deadly serious. We say thank you for downloading and listening to the MyMac.com podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And Gaz, I think that we're good enough. Yes, I do. And more importantly, that we are so smart enough, and that doggone it, woof, people like us.
MyMac Podcast.
Est il type tad peu régénéré et nouveau la Commonwealth anglaise. Certaines personnes qui l'indépendance signifie que est juste des simplement pour la dette. Tu sais, à seul.
That's French.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
On day.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on home and I go home.
1999, that would be 40 minutes after 2 o'clock. 40 minutes after 2. 1440
I'll give you that.
would be 13.99. I know my maths. I'm the good at maths.
This is definitely my maths, considering you're making years into
Yeah, well,
the 24-hour
all
clock.
you have, listen, Gaz, I'll make it very simple. All you have to do is think in base 60.
Okay.
That's it.
I'll tell you what.
That's the one.
Yeah, see? I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about cutting my hair.
No.
I'm thinking about just going super short. So then get rid of all this.
Guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, it's important. We have to discuss these things. It involves all of us together.
Chop
on
it
the
off
show. I don't want to. All right, are you ready? Hello?
I haven't done that for a long time.
I still remember.
Stop the presses!
Oh, damn.
You talking to me?
Banana.
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 Banana. Apple. Banana. Banana. Uh-oh. Banana.
So while he's away, I don't know if he's still recording.
I'm still here. I'm recording.
If he'd kept quiet, then he might have heard me say something really, really rude.
As compared to all the other times you said really rude things right to my face.
Are you getting it?
See? Okay, here we go.
Hang on a minute, are you saying we're starting?
Yeah,
All right.
as soon as I stop and save.
Stopping and a shaving.
Well, it's been like 9 minutes since I started. Since I started recording the intro, it was like recording the intro happened like 9 minutes ago. So if you're going to start the show,
9 minutes, folks. If you're listening to this, 9 minutes. How long was that intro? MyMac Podcast 808. The Mac is a thing again, and that was it.
Yeah.
9 minutes ago.
That was but hey, that was like 6 or 7 seconds.
Apple.
So, these things really matter. Yeah. Uh-oh. Okay.
Right. Are we
There we
ready?
go. Yes.
Are we sure?
Yeah, I think so. And welcome everyone to the MyMac.com podcast. After years of, some would say neglect, the Mac is like, oh, son of a bitch. I tried. I almost made it.
You did. I was really impressed, and I thought, I'll tell you what's going to catch him out is this isn't the one with the owl, and he's going to be listening for the owl, and that's going to throw him.
It did. It totally did. Damn it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Go for it. I won't disturb this time.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard that nonsense before.
I wish I
was a space. Yeah.
All right, go for it.